Hello, my loves. I wanted to come on today and talk to you about the energies coming up with this full moon, specifically really ramping up and bringing up the original core separation wound. And there's been some insights coming in around the feminine wound and the masculine wound that I'm going to dive into a little bit with you. Some of what you may be experiencing physically. Of course, I'm not a medical doctor, so please care for yourself however you need to. But some of the energies that have been coming up have been heart palpitations, physical pain sort of coming and going, maybe some even having some headaches. You may feel quite a bit in the heart space or the solar plexus. Of course, this is also moving into some of the heart space, high heart, back of the head. Obviously, it's moving through the whole system to some degree, but it's really stemming from this original core separation wound within the heart space, within the space of the internal union, masculine and feminine. So many feminines are feeling this within their own energies, connected with their internal masculine and feminine, obviously connected to their twin flame divine counterpart connection. Okay. So for then any of you who are aware, I have videos around the core wound, but also going into this where I've talked about sort of seeing this space in the heart, in the general heart area that sort of looks like a literal wound that we've been working with debriding and clearing and healing as we work through the layers of distortion from, the present day back to the original fall of the separations, right? The original fall of humanity. And at the time of the original fall, we did not have any tools to deal with the pain, suffering, separation that we were experiencing, because prior to that we had been in a blissful state. We only knew unity and unity consciousness. So this was the first time we experienced it, so we did not have the tools or callous energy to understand how to navigate any of it. And what I've been shown is sort of like this is where a whole bunch of the distortion and the energy got into our system. And over years and over lifetimes and over experiences, those distortions piled up, not only in our core separation wound, but then also in the ancestral core wound. So there comes this point where those energies meet for those of you that came here in this life to work through these original wounds and restore back to your true essence. Okay. So within this, part of what has been happening, which I talked about yesterday actually on my Patreon group, and I mentioned it in a video last week, is that I've always seen like sort of where the wound wanted to be debrided and healed and cleaned up. But most recently, over the last few weeks, I've been being shown the actual literal original rip. So before it got all the gunk in there, right? Before it got all the wounding in there, it was just the original wound. So imagine a wound that never really got appropriately dressed, and all these infections and dirt and grime and all that started to get in there. That's the equivalent of what we've been unraveling and dissolving in our systems, all the distortion that got in there, right? So you're talking about the micro to the macro, and we're using the terms that we understand around having an actual physical wound. And so when we address this core wound and the energies, you can treat it like a wound where you're caring for it and nurturing it and healing it literally through your visualizations as you're actually unraveling and working with the emotions or the betrayals or the distortions that have been coming up for you to deal with and clear out. Okay. So you're hitting it from the different layers. But again, with this rip, what I was shown this morning was that we can envision now and work with it from both angles, sort of like present, you know, to like from now to the past and from the past to the present. So we're hitting it from both angles instead of from just now to the past. Okay. So going pre the energy of pre-wound, right? And then envisioning and imagining sort of shoring up, healing, almost stitching. You can envision stitching the core wound. And of course, I encourage you to intend for it to be dissolvable stitches, right? So that as your energetic field all the way back to the core naturally heals, it'll just go back to its natural nature. Okay. So you can envision this, and this supports the energy of also clearing out more of the distortion more effortlessly. This morning, I got a little bit more around this where I was being shown that in some cases, I know that we have been building momentum and making strides, but part of what I was shown was that a lot of the feminines have been moving forward, right? And really gaining some momentum. But you may notice that there's times where things kind of feel like they're cycling. Like, yes, you're healing, but then these cycles seem to keep coming back. You're getting stronger, you're getting better. Part of what I was shown was that the feminines are working on healing the distortion, right? The debriding part. But what I was seeing was in the masculine system was where the rip was just like leaking energy. Okay. So it's like the masculine energy has like a rip in it, and it's just sort of hard to gain any traction because as soon as some energy comes in, it's sort of leaking out, almost like a balloon with a hole in it. Even if you keep blowing it up, if you don't patch the hole, right? It's going to keep leaking energy and air. This is what was on one side of the wound, and on the other side, how it was trying to stop the leak. It was just filling up with the things that are needing to be debrided, essentially all of the things in between the divine counterparts. Okay. And I believe we are getting to this level because so much distortion has been being cleared. And those of you working on your internal union, regardless of the state of your connection in the physical world, you can continue to work on these energies within your own system, within your own internal masculine and feminine. And as you are shoring that up within your system, then obviously you share the results into your connection. But first and foremost, like I said, look into those ideas around literally envisioning or going into a meditation around healing and clearing up the wound, but then also shoring up where the rip has been. And the reason I think that my higher self showed me to go in and debride, but also come from the other end with the stitches, is because if we're still working through layers of the distortion, right? But now we have this awareness, we can do both at the same time. So it's like we say past, present, and future because we live in a linear time on our planet. But in the quantum energetics, everything is happening simultaneously. So if we can work on that from both ends and support ourselves to be healing from all directions, let's do that in the energies. Okay, loves. I was actually thinking that I may do a recorded session for you guys for this. I want to get it out quicker than if I do like a big group. So my goal is to get something recorded for you, some sort of meditative support session for this within the next few days. I'm going to attempt to do that as quickly as possible. My schedule has been a bit more full with those sessions this week, but I'm going to do that for you. That is my goal, like I said, because this is coming up. It's been coming up significantly in multiple sessions, and it's been coming very quickly, sort of out of nowhere. Okay. And I think it was a week or two ago, I told you guys about a moment where I experienced like deep heart palpitations, and to the point where I was getting dizzy and almost blacked out. And then I saw that was when I first saw the vision of the rip. And then and it was creating almost like a black hole suction energy. So some of you may have also been feeling a bit of dizziness. And yes, I know it's the full moon today. We have the solar flares. All of those are part of it. But if it's really amping up and you're noticing these types of things coming to the surface, it really may be worth you checking in on in your system. If you're not a big visual energy person, you can literally draw a picture. Okay. You can draw a picture of sort of like stitching up a wound and cleaning up a wound. And yes, it can be stick figures. It does not have to be fancy. It's really most important that it's about your intention. Okay, my loves. So, however you are guided, if this is resonating, like I said, for me, this was some new intel that's just been coming in over these last few weeks. And I truly believe it's because we are coming into so much more harmonious inner union states. And the sacred masculine and sacred feminine collectives are working in tandem to shore up these energies. Okay. So the more you're coming into your own self unconditional love, and the more you're coming into those unity consciousness energies for yourself, for your connection, for the planet, the actual closer we're getting to those wounds healing, some of this energy is intensifying, not because you're going backwards, my doves, it's because you're getting to the core of things. And I just want to also drop here, we are getting back to that core separation wound, not to go backwards, but to retrieve and restore our true core soul essence and power so that we can remember and move into our true conscious creatorship on this planet as full human beings, accessing our true capacity and potential, and coupling that with all of who we are now and everything that we've learned since that original wound, which is so unbelievably amazing and significant. So, also give yourself a pat on the back for how incredibly far you have come, how beautiful you are doing. And I'm so grateful for you being in this space, absorbing these energies if it feels aligned for you, and continue to allow yourself to move through them. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you have any comments. I am yesterday in the Patreon group, I did talk about more of that original core separation wound and how during some of it during this incarnation, many feminines actually energetically helped the masculines kind of cloak off and shut down their energy when you went into the separation in this incarnation, but it's all sort of tying back to that original core wound. So I spoke a bit about that in yesterday's video, and I'm actually going to go deeper around that because I received some questions around, well, if the masculines have that block in their system, is there anything that we need to do? Is there anything we can do? And how to know if this is happening. So I'm going to go deeper into that over on Patreon in the next day, as well as, like I said, do a recording for you guys to support the debriding and healing of the original core soul wound. All right. Lots of love to all of you. I hope you have a beautiful rest of your day. Rest up, take care, resource up, and enjoy your full moon Monday. All right, loves. Be well.